Welcome to Ratio Scale Modelling. This is part 8 of Imai's Maru scale 1 to 350. So far I've concentrated on the hull of the ship and the mast. So now I've come to the rigging stage. Now this is a very long process, maybe over a couple of videos, but I'll see how much I can fit into one video. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So to begin with, what I've got here is some wax. This is beeswax type stuff, and I've got the thread that came with the kit, and I'm just passing the thread over the beeswax, and that covers up the thread, and it should stop a lot of the fuzziness you get with thread over time. So normally, with my rigging, I'll generally use a nylon thread. As a rule, as a fishing line, but I decided to use what the kit gives me for a change and to see how I get on. It's a little bit more trickier to deal with. There's a bit more processes, but I thought I would give the thread a go. It's been a while since I've used thread for rigging a ship. Now the way the kit's designed is that on the deck there's already a pre-drilled holes for the rigging. You don't often get that on model ships. You generally either get little clicks and dead eyes to fit the rigging, or you have to drill the holes yourself. This is already got some in there, and this first part I'm rigging will be for the shrouds and for the stays. Now the shrouds are those triangular looking mesh things that go up onto the cross tree there. And the stays are the single pieces of rigging that go up right up to the top gallant part of the mast. For the stays on it, in each mast, there could be around about 8 different cords going up from the deck on each side. And for the shrouds, well, it depends on the side of the ship, but you're generally looking about 3 to 5 vertical ropes going up. This won't have this many because of that scale, but in a larger scale you would just increase the sizes to reflect that. So the process looks complicated, but it's really quite simple, especially on this kit. What I've done is I've passed the thread down the pre-drilled hole, taken it in the inside of the ship and brought it up to the opposite end. Now you can tie it off at the rear, then put a different dedicated thread in it if you wish, but you don't have to. If you've got a ship hull designed like this for a kit, it's fairly easy then just to have a running rig wrapping it around. Once I've got the length required, I will simply place it up above on the mast, so it comes through the cross tree and goes up to the next one. Then I'll loop it over to the other side of the mast and then draw the thread down to the other location hole and then anchor them down. Now I'm using some clamps here. That's just to keep it taut and give it a bit of weight. So it's stretched down, and then what I do is I simply just place a tiny little bit of super glue on the inside into the hole, so that keeps nice and taut. And that's the key, keeping the thread as taut as possible, but also to be a bit contradiction, don't put too much pressure on it, because you don't want to be pulling your mast out of shape and bending it. The plastic can be quite thick and it's easy enough to do. So once you've got a bit of tension on it and you all intents and purposes bung up the hole with a bit of super glue, it should be enough. So if I put my hand there, you can just about see the shroud forming, and it's pretty much the same again on the other side. So I'm placing one of the backstays in and putting it onto the top gallant mast, or the top mast cap, and it's the same again, just pulling it down and I thread it through the mast and bring it down to the other side. as I said in previous videos, ideally you should be doing this with dead eyes and pulleys and things like that, the tension brackets and things, but the kit doesn't come with them, and they're too small for me to scratch build them. So I'm just placing the thread through the deck and fastening it like that. It's a shame in a way, because the kit's quite detailed at a basic level, but I would have liked to have seen these little adornments, because it does offset the shapes really well. You also need to plan the stage quite well as well. Even if you've done this 100 times, you'll look at it. It's like with the deck furniture. Pick a starting point and see how it's going to work and how much room you're going to be having after you place each one on. This is why I haven't put the jibs on yet. That's the cross piece of the mast, because you really do run out of room in it, and you end up knocking them off, sometimes snapping them when you're trying to rig it. So do the rigs in stages. That way you one, it'll be easier to do it. Two, you won't be in danger of snapping parts of the mast off. So I'm come to the last part of the first process, and just to apply more super glue to the underside to make sure it's all nice and anchored and secure. Just where my hand is, you can see the lines going up. You can see that they're nice and taut. That's what you're looking for. It goes without saying, of course, but trying to achieve that can be a little bit difficult if you haven't done it before. If your rigging does slacken off a little bit, just tie a bit of thread around the mast with it to tighten it back up as well. But don't do that until near the end, because you may be able to pull everything in place when the main rigging goes on. So that's the first set of rigging going on the foremast. It's time to start the next set on the main mast. Now the difference here is the lines are attached to the rails at the edges here, and this is where you really would like the furniture to go with it, the dead eyes and so on, and the pulleys and cables that go with it. Unfortunately, as I said, the kit doesn't come with it, so I should stop harking on about it, but it is a shame. So I'm just tying off one section now. The knots I'm using are just a simple knot. I'm not doing anything fancy. You can do a cable knots and things like that if you wish, but or a turnbuckle knot. You know, if they don't come with turnbuckles, you know, you can put a turnbuckle that you would use for rigging an aircraft, for instance, a biplane. You know, if you've got any of those sort of things at hand, but a simple knot will suffice. The next section of rigging I almost forgot to do. This is the forestay rigging. This is the central pieces of rigging that connect the masts on the diagonal. Now, as I said in the previous video, the guardrails for the masts, the whole idea was to attach these before I put these guardrails onto the deck, just for ease. But I forgot to do it, and I almost forgot to attach them again while I was making the shrouds. So I've stopped doing shrouds and I've started to attach them. It was easy enough to do. It's just a little bit more difficult because the masts are in situ. But essentially, I'm just attaching them using a little knot again and securing that with a bit of super glue before I move on. Now, I'm not going to be attaching these mainstays to the opposite mast, or the mast down the line, until later on. These are just the anchor points that I'm sorting out now, because once I stretch these over to the other mast, it starts creating the tension. But because I'll be working on other areas of the rigging, that tension may loosen, so it's better to do it near the end, well, before you do the next main part of the rigging, so that you're not going to be losing any tension, because these masts will bend slightly while you're doing this, and you can lose your tension. But because I've attached them now, I can then put the last part of the deck on. So this is going to be the last thing to do before I end the video. I have a lot more rigging to do, of course, and it's better to take it through step at a time, and then instead of just skipping most of it, especially if you've never done something like this before on this scale even. I think it's good to show you the processes involved. I'd like to point out as well, I'm no by any means an expert in rigging shapes. I've done it quite a lot of them. This is my favourite part of the hobby, is doing shapes. But the small knowledge I've got, I think it's good to pass on. So I'll just adjust my camera. I just knocked my camera there. So the last part, as I said, is to fit the last part of the deck in, and that just gets laid on top, and it goes on quite easily without any fuss. You only really want to put this on after you've done all your anchor points on the other parts of the deck, because otherwise it'll be very difficult to fit those anchor points in. So as I'm fitting this is where I'll end the video. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, please do so. Hit the notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date not only with this build but all my other builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.